Every civilization that ever collapsed the same way. Not because they were weak, not because they ran out of money. They collapsed because they had too much desire and not enough discipline. And before anybody get emotional, this ain't a women are evil video. This ain't a money is bad video either. This is about how men lose themselves chasing shit instead of building purpose. I can only speak as a black man in America, but trust me, this pattern don't get or give a fuck about race. Let's start with money. Money don't change you. That shit just turns the volume up on who you already are. Be honest with yourself real quick. If you were broke tomorrow, like bottom broke, will you still be the same person? With the same mindset, same interests, same disciplines? Because whatever you are without money, money just makes you more of that. If you were a good guy, cool, now you got resources. If you were a grimy nigga, now you grimy with a budget, pretty much. Money don't fix character. It pretty much exposes it. And without purpose, money turns into a drug. You start using it to escape the fact you don't actually know what the fuck you're doing with your life. We gotta stop lying to ourselves like money automatically equals peace. Some of the richest niggas on earth is stressed, divorced, never see their kids, chasing numbers like they're chasing oxygen or social validation. But society still tells us, yeah, bro, that's not success. Nah, that's motion without direction. If the money stops and your whole identity collapses, you never had one from the beginning. Now let's talk about women. And relax. Don't get triggered. This is just reality. Attraction follows success, not identity. When a man is broke, struggling, dusty, invisible, popped, whatever word you want to call it, nobody is checking for him. When he's locked in, building something, finds purpose, has value, now everybody want to know him, and they're glazing. That don't make women evil. That makes incentives real. And let's keep it a buck. If the money disappears, a lot of that attention disappears too. If you confuse attention for love, you're pretty much going to get hurt every time, especially in the time of clout chasing. You know, if you listen to NBA Youngboy, Lil Durk, King Von, Future, you know, the whole wave of music right now, they say the same shit over and over. If I go broke, they gone. Somebody richer come along, unreplaceable. And these niggas ain't philosophers. They're reporting real life. Men don't learn this from podcasts. They learn it from experience, you know? Because the average everyday media outlet is not really speaking on the real. You know, you have certain channels that may be out there or certain outlets, but, you know, from a mass scale, from these top networks that have influence, they're pushing the opposite or pushing something that's complete contradiction of what's going on in real time. And this is really nothing new. Kings lost empires back in the day. You know, men used to lose everything, not because of women, not because of money, but because desire ran the show. Too much ego, too much pleasure, not enough self-control. Every downfall got the same ingredients. This ain't about blaming women, you know, and the ingredients was basically self-mastery is more important than blaming yourself for falling victim to one of these, what I would like to call them 7 deadly sins. You know, when you falling victim to your pride, your ego, and all these different things, these concepts are all built off of the history of civilization and what, you know, those before us and after us will fall victim to, and including you, you know, and with you gonna go through the same trials, and you have to decide whether you're gonna fall victim to any of these pitfalls or you're gonna rise. You know, very few do. You know, so this is about self-mastery. Men get cooked by lust. You know, if you are in the current society today, you know, it's pop culture or popular culture to be going up and risen women, but you'll never see a woman risen a man, right? You see the double standard, and then now you inflating these women's ego, and now they feel like a bitch could be a 10, she could be a 2, and she's sitting here expecting to get what a 10 gets. She's automatically entitled and feels like, oh, this is what every woman's supposed to get, and it's like, no, it's not. But that's because we made that reality for them by being driven by our lust, and we control everything. You know, God put us on this earth to rule. He didn't put a woman on the earth to rule. They're supposed to be under us. But now in today's time, you have the women that want to be over us or on our level, and if they don't get there, then that's a problem. And if you don't support that, then you're sexist. So it's like, you know, it's a bad job. It's a bad job. Women get cooked by validation. Media exploits both men and women. Porn fucks men's dopamine up. Artificial attention fucks women's perception up of what attention is, and completely desensitize them to realistic expectations from a sexual standpoint to a, you know, just a masculine or knowing or identifying what masculinity even is, or what they deem as, you know, just finding their identity in terms of what they want as a man. You know, it messes with that side also, and everybody gets poisoned pretty much, just differently. The real enemy ain't us; it's the lack of discipline. You know, every great man figured this out eventually. Purpose comes before pleasure. Not because relationships don't matter, but because without purpose, nothing you build lasts. You can have fun. I've had fun. Most niggas has had fun. But when fun becomes your whole life, you're lost. And the world ain't destroying men. Men are destroying themselves when they forget who they're supposed to be. When they trade long-term meaning for short-term validation. When they confuse desire for destiny. You know, like if you read the Bible, you hear about the story of Samson and all these different stories to where it's like, you know, some of these guys, man, once they got around some of these baddies, and I get it, you know, it'd be like that, but you know, and it really be like a trance or something to where a lot of guys, it's like once they pull a baddie, they feel like that's it. That's the accomplishment. That's the legacy. That's everything. And it's like, yo, it's like the pedestal women are on in today's time, and I feel like really throughout all time has been something that, you know, I don't want to say has to change, but has to be contained, if that makes sense. Like, you can have that mindset, but specifically to your woman. But when you generalize it to like, damn, yeah, every woman, yeah, I'm supposed to cater to them, and they, yeah, I'm submitting to them. That's where you go wrong, you know. And you gotta master yourself, or get mastered by whatever the fuck you chasing, you know, at the end of the day. Because, you know, I heard Bandman Kevo say, this one quote before, and basically he was saying, a lot of men fail because they're chasing women. And, if you look around and you pay attention, a lot of celebrities, they talk about how, a lot of these chains, cars, the whole persona, for real, is to attract women, because men, we don't, number one, we're not looking to attract each other or anything like that, but, that's what a man has to do to attract a woman is completely different from what a woman has to do to attract a man. You understand what I'm saying? Women, they're literally all sexual. It's all sexual with them. And then with us, it's not the same. Even if you packing, even if you a nigga who got it and was blessed, you still gonna have problems. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, you could be blessed and have it, but now she's complaining, oh, yeah, well, you're a minute man. Or, oh, yeah, you should get some hems and last longer. Or, da-da-da-da. Or, she might like this or that. So it gets sticky on all levels. And, bringing it back to what Bandman Kevo was saying, how, you got guys that'll go to work for 8 hours, right? And then give a woman the rest of their day, or their whole day, or their whole life. You know what I'm saying? They're just living off women. I got friends that, shit, all they do is be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go find a girl with money and just live off of her and, beat the Goonies down and, you feel me? And go into hibernation or build from there. And it's like, man, it's a scary time with dating. It's a scary time with the economy we're living in, because if you pay attention, it's starting. It doesn't even matter if you have, it doesn't even matter if you're educated. You can have a degree in this or have a major in that or a bachelor's in this, and it's really about nepotism. It's really about knowing someone. It's really about being within the circles or clubs that are within these certain environments, or that run these certain environments, because if you're not and you're an outsider, you will never get in, because they're not accessible to the public or someone who's not brought into it, and unfortunately that could be the reality of a lot of paths that us youth pursue, in terms of whether it's music, whether it's acting, content creation, whether it's being in things like tech. You could work in tech and make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. That's great, but are you ever gonna own a piece of the tech? Are you ever gonna have equity in the company that's making billions and only paying you fucking $300,000? You understand what I'm saying? So when you start looking at the bigger picture in terms of on the money scale, you will forever chase the money, because you'll never be able to produce it on your own, because the society we live in is not set up for you to be a producer. It's for you to be a consumer. And for the people who are the producers, they have the resources by default or through generational wealth or through things of those natures, and that's how they're able to produce and be in the position and stature and echelons that they're in. So whereas you, and like me, someone who's building this shit from the ground up, getting it out the mud, out the pavement, it's, you pretty much gotta be delusional and go through a whole trial and error phase, So, yeah, just keep your head up out here, guys. It's we're in dark times. It's no real love out here. Marriage don't exist in our lifetime. It's a lot of interracial dating going on. It's a lot of black women hating black men, but would wanna start a family and get a fucking horse and white fence with a white guy and go skiing and snowboarding and do all this shit when they was just the other day or 5-6 years ago on the block in the streets being on some, and it's that just shows you how there's no real loyalty, even within our own women in our own race, to where they'll go online and start bashing us. You don't even see white women doing that. White men get caught cheating on fucking camera, on fucking sports shows and sport games, live events, and they'll just pay their wife off or buy them a new horse or a new something, you know what I'm saying? Or, some of them do get divorced or whatever, but for the most part, like I said, these women are not with none of these men for who they are. They're with them for what they produce. Straight up. And it's a hard reality to accept, but, it is what it is. And every man has came to that conclusion. Every man has gotten their heart broken before, so if you've been there, then, you know what's up. If it was meant to be, love is an illusion. If it was meant to be real, then if it was meant to be real, right, then everyone, the whole saying of you'll find your soulmate and you'll find the one and all this other shit, that would be valid. Meaning, the first person you lost your virginity to would have been with you forever, if that was the world we was brought up in. You know what I'm saying? But because that's not what it is, and there's no love. So from the beginning of when shit went left with this whole society and family and all that shit, from the minute it went left, it's only gotten worse to this point, to where we're at now. So families, no matter what fucking race you are, is divided due to these problems that come from society, which is the lack of money, the urge to chase money and think that, oh yeah, well, if I get all this money, then my problems are gonna go away, and then now you get the money, and now you get more problems. So it's just self-destructive, because it's not about, we're chasing money, but it's really not about the money. It's about the ownership and the power to say, I own this, I have my own. You know what I'm saying? And if you look around, everything that's being owned or within every sector, industry of this planet is ran by the Caucasian man. So if you have any plans or thinking that, hey, yeah, I'm gonna start a company and and I'm gonna scale it up and I'm gonna be the CEO and it's gonna be all good. Yeah, it's possible, but understand, you can make 10 million on your own, right? But now, if the government pull up on you and they like, look, we're offering you 160 million for your shit, and we own all your rights. You can keep it. You can still keep doing what you're doing and whatever, how you producing the money or getting it off. We just own it, and it's a little slight things we have to tweak, but it's nothing. You got 160 million. So also think and remember, everything throughout the history of this world came down to temptation, came down to saying, okay, I have this, but I want more. You already have the 16 million. And remember, this is a hypothetical situation, but you already have the 16 million. Why do you want the 160 million? What the fuck can you get with the 160 million that you can't get with the 16 million? Now, it's, that's a subjective answer. It's rhetorical. But the point is, at what point in time is it going to be enough? And that's when greed is at play. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a problem we're going to have to figure out, because, like I said, it's an endless cycle. If you look at all these athletes and you look at all these entertainers and scientists and fucking in any avenue you look in, there was always a bigger entity or the label or the team owner, or it was always a bigger entity behind that person that made made money off of them. So it's a fucked up way of seeing things, but that's the way it is. They just packaged it in a way that